Virgo Sun. Virgo are our people born between August 23rd and September 22nd. So this is around the time of the fall equinox. Moving into Libra, you've got right after the fall equinox. Now with Virgo, Virgos are our devoted, earthy sun signs. Virgo's ruled by Mercury. That's our planet, the little planet Mercury that orbits around the sun in about 88 days to create 1 year for Mercury. This gives our Virgos and our Geminis a quickness of mind or a nervousness. It plays out a little bit differently in Gemini and Virgo. In Virgo, through Earth, through this mutable Earth, you see an individual who is analytical. They appreciate categorizing things. They appreciate doing things a particular way. They like systems, planning, analyzing, etc. That's quite Virgo. Virgo is kind of misunderstood too. The symbol is the Virgin. And to me, I like to think of the Vestal Virgins and this idea of this sacred purity. And you can see that applied metaphorically in the way that they mentally process things. They're seeking for a perfect system, a perfect order and way of doing things. So they are seeking this idealistic version of whatever it is they're interested in, whether it's from something as simple as organizing a toolbox to a Virgo who's interested in astrology, for example, who likes to learn about the categorizing. There are a lot of Virgo astrologers or astrologers who have a touch of Virgo on perhaps their Mercury. It's that interest in understanding how a system or a language or symbols, how these things all work and how they explain a deeper process or a deeper, more complex system. So a high-functioning Virgo, you've got someone who is helpful, they're dependable. They many times operate in a, Virgo energy is an introverted expression of energy, okay? So many times they're comfortable in a role where they're serving someone else, whether it's through being an assistant or whether it's through perhaps just being in the background or in a career where they're in a role where they're observing and analyzing from the sidelines. Now in relationships, this can come out sometimes, we'll talk about this in the low-functioning part, but it can come out as criticism. They can be critical, but on the high side, back to the high side, they're devoted. You've got authentic, genuine people. You've got someone who's got a good eye for detail. They're good at again, analyzing something, breaking it down, making it kind of make logical sense. They like to be in the world of the here and now. There's a practicality and a sensibility to Virgo where they appreciate showing up to appointments on time. They appreciate, sort of doing their duty, like doing the things that they say they'll do. There can be kind of a Boy Scoutish vibe to a male Virgo. I know quite a few actually that have kind of that like do-gooder vibe to them. They've got, like I said, this dutifulness and there's a responsibility there. And they don't have as much of a need for the ego. It's not they're not going to be directly motivated for ego strokes. So much as they're going to do things out of a place of it's just like the right thing to do and they can't not do it that way. And they will appreciate someone who gives them ego strokes. Look at their moon too. You got anything fiery on the moon or earthy, they're going to be someone who really would like to get some little pats back. Now, also Virgo is also quite hardworking. Kind of goes to being dutiful and responsible, but the sixth house, which is the Virgo house, has to do with our daily habits and sort of consistent patterns and the in and out of the minutia of life. And so Virgo is comfortable in the role of taking care of business, getting things done that maybe other people don't want to take care of. On the low side, so low functioning Virgo, you'll have someone that can be overly critical. I know quite a few Virgo females, and this is not, by the way, these are people that are some of my favorite people in the world, right? But Virgo females in particular can be kind of pessimistic because there's a realism there where they can sort of see it and they've seen the patterns, they've seen people's behavior and they've seen what happens when this happens, They kind of get like to this place where they become a little disillusioned because a Virgo, they'll show up, they do the stuff that it is that they say that they're going to do, right? They come on time, they, keep their appointments, they, go run to the grocery store and don't forget to pick up the ice for you, that kind of thing. That's Virgo. So when you don't show up or when the world in general they get screwed sometimes, like we all do, they become a little disheartened and disillusioned by the whole thing. So they can be a little pessimistic and a little anxious as well. Anxiety is a big thing for anyone who has strong Virgo. I have a Virgo Mercury and Virgo Venus in the first house, and I know anxiety. It's because it's like they run at a higher speed than a lot of other people, even mentally, because this is Mercury, which to me is a mercurial a planet. It has to do with the mind. There is a nervousness. A lot of, like, if I was to think of the stereotypical Virgo, they would be quite thin because they're busy, and there's a nervousness there, and there's a anxiousness that's there. So sometimes can have issues of insomnia, things like that. They have high standards. Now, Virgos are idealistic, just like Pisces. To me, this is like this axis of service, and it's this idealistic, value-driven axis. So they appreciate sort of, they have a hierarchy in their mind of how things should sort of operate. And so they'll appreciate when they'll want things to be up here. And they'll also kind of realize that to have things up here is going to be really difficult. Like, they know that they're perfectionists. There's quite a realistic, that's almost, I think, their strength and their weakness, right? Like, they can really see themselves a lot of times. They can see all their shit. And so they sort of feel bothered by that because they're not reaching, they personally aren't able to hit their own, standard of what they think is ideal. And so they can project it onto other people or relationships, or just assume everyone else is, we're all a bunch of screw ups as well, kind of a thing. So they also can be martyrs sometimes. You got this with both Pisces and Virgo, this axis. Anyone who has these zodiac signs strongly noted in their chart. Because, again, it's this ability to give and give and give and give, because it's kind of just, they operate better in the place of taking care of something else behind the scenes, taking care of someone else's problem and fixing it, rather than maybe receiving care from someone, like someone taking care of them. That will make them a little uncomfortable, because that means that they're failing at whatever it is that person has to take care of for them. Remember, they're Virgo and they want to do things to this level. It's like an ideal, and that means that they're not. So they're like, oh, I'm a big loser because you're taking care of me. This is really uncomfortable for me. Even like gift giving, a lot of times Virgos are, again, look at their moon, all the other thing, they're Venus, but a lot of times gift giving, receiving gifts can be a little awkward for Virgo, or they can be someone that you're like, I'm not really sure what to get for that person exactly, but ultimately they'll enjoy it. So gifts. But Virgo in love. So because you've got a person who has these, pretty high standards, this applies to their love life as well. And when they fell in love, they have thoroughly sort of analyzed the partner first. Now, I've got a friend who has has an Aries moon, and she's a Virgo. And she's quite spontaneous in love, and she's married now, but when she's dating, she's the kind of person who's very fun and would very much that Aries moon, independent spirit, want to do what she wanted to do. But then after she was sort of seeing someone, then her Virgo analytical nature would kind of set in, and she would sort of analyze things and look at them from both sides and be like, like this doesn't feel right, or this, so sort of after the fact, it was like this Virgo in hindsight, rearview mirror Virgo thing happening. But they have this idealistic thing that they're looking for. A hard thing for an idealist is you might have to just come to the realization that there really isn't an ideal. I mean, there is in your head, but as soon as you make something move from the mental space to the physical space in the form of another human, good luck. Like, it's going to be a daily for Virgo. It's got to be a daily recommitment to this other human being, and that recognizing that they're not going to meet the Virgo standards, just as the Virgo doesn't meet their own standards, and that's okay. So sometimes Virgo, with this, they can be the high standards. They can also, though, it's really interesting, they have high standards, but then they'll also kind of stick around. So they can be a little sort of passive-aggressive or codependent even. I mean, I use those terms very cautiously. I don't mean that Virgos are codependent or that Virgos are passive-aggressive. I'm saying think of what that sort of looks like when someone's codependent, when they want to support another person or take care of someone else's needs and keep another person sort of in a place of like addiction or like in a place of weakness so they feel needed. That can happen with Virgo, okay? And so you can sometimes see Virgo Pisces types get with like these narcissistic types, which would be more your Arian, Capricorn, Leo-ish type individuals, okay? So with a Virgo, you have got this devoted partner. The Virgo in love is devoted. Their devotion just you know, it's not the Piscean devotion, which would be this merging spiritual oneness thing. It is more like the Vestal Virgin, you know, worshiping the object of their love. They are sacrificing their carnal desires, you know, to perhaps be with other people, to devote themselves to the one they love. Okay, so think of it as almost a religious experience, because the Virgo sort of symbolizes, it's the virgin, it's the human here on earth looking up to the divine, and Pisces on the opposite end is just that merge of the divine and the earthly. Okay, so Virgos in love, they need that devotion in their partnership. A lot of times Virgo males will put females up on the pedestal, and you know you're going to fall off, you're going to jump off, or you're going to get pushed off when you're on a pedestal. So being on a pedestal is not comfortable. So Virgo men, don't do that. There's a certain level of devotion that should happen. And you know, when I say devotion, it's like this religious devotion. There's a certain amount that should happen in any relationship, but it should go in both directions. Okay. Okay. Oh, and also, so the thing with Virgo is they are looking for the one. You know, this is again sort of this religious experience in a sense. It's this worship of the partner in a sense. So once they found that person, they're quite loyal, and they don't have a desire to stray off. They want to be, you know, with their partner. So here you go. Here's the problem. You got someone who has high standards in love. They have high standards for themselves, but also for their love match, their partnership, and on their partner themselves. Of course, with that, you're going to be disappointed because people are losers sometimes, right? We are all assholes at times. We all do things contrary to how we would like to do them or how we intend on doing them. We don't show up, or we just let our partner down. So Virgos get disappointed at times. So their expectations in love are kind of, in a sense, it's funny. It's like they sort of have these high standards, these ideals, but they like no, because they're so practical. They're so damn practical. They're like, you're not going to be able to meet my ideal, my standards. So it's kind of, it can almost turn into like a pessimism, like, oh well, I mean, it's not going to be what I want it to be, and so they can just not go all the way in, even sometimes, you know, or hold back and still hold on to this little idea, this ideal love that exists somewhere out there in the ethers that they'll never get to. All right. Because also when they do really love you and they have that devotion to their partner, they get disappointed. They're let down many times by their partner, right? They realize, I love you fiercely, but you might not be able to do it in return. Okay. And so self-sacrifice, if you can do things for them where you're sacrificing something that matters to you for the Virgo partner, that will be something that really means a lot to them. Showing up for them, showing up, being a backbone, you know, being like a strong, united force. They do want to look up to their partner. And if you let them down, they sort of become disillusioned and they lose a little bit of respect for you. So you have to, you know, show up for them as best you can. And a Virgo will give you this sense that you want to be a better person. You want to be in a better place than you are right now. You want to live up to these standards that are actually really quite beautiful. They're ideals of what true, blossoming, divine romantic love looks like. Okay. Virgo's biggest fear. So yeah, Virgo, if we're thinking of this archetype of the virgin, I always think of sort of this religious virgin. It makes me think of nuns or the Vestal Virgins, whatever. That means the partner is God. The partner is divinity. It's the divine. Virgo is learning how to access the divine or the oneness, the same oneness that Pisces is all about on the opposite end. But they're learning how to do it from this place of object, subject, or like this place of they are this worshiper and the partner is the divinity. Now, this is very, you need to think about this in kind of a big abstract way, okay? But they'll serve the partner. They'll defer to the partner's needs many times, a Virgo, especially Virgo females. But at the same time, their worry, their fear is that their partner won't be able to love them in return in the same way. So, you know, you can have a dark Virgo, someone who is pretending to worship the partner and very charming and saying all the right things, but on the inside is not really going all the way in because they've lost kind of hope that anyone else can match where they're going to go anyway. So what difference does it make? So that can happen. So keep that Virgo feeling like they are your beautiful ideal of what love is, and that their devotion does not go unnoticed, and that you shine your light on them, you know, so to speak. Virgo and Virgo Sun compatibility. Okay, when I think about these two people, we've got with Virgo, first of all, this is a person who seeks to define the world around them. They take in information and they want to categorize it and make it make sense. So with that can come sort of they're known for being slightly critical, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative critical sort of approach, but it is one where they analyze things. And so there is this, because they have analyzed things throughout their life and sort of categorized and created this sort of standard in their mind relative to especially relationships, they are looking for an ideal many times. So with Virgo and Virgo together, you could run into this issue of either having two different sort of ideas of what the ideal relationship looks like and them each sort of criticizing and nitpicking one another, all the way to you could have two people who really enjoy that devoted act of serving one another that Virgos are really good at. So it sort of depends on how these two play out. But ultimately, the initial attraction will be likeness, just like any sun signs. The same sun signs, there's this natural attraction when someone thinks the way you do, or they seem to be the way that you seem to be. That's a natural simpatico. So as far as these two, long-term interaction between these two, there's a privacy to Virgo many times, and the issue you could really run into with these two is that you've got two people who are most comfortable in the role of sort of taking care of someone else's needs, and so that's sort of like two negative charges, and it's kind of like who's the caretaker, who's the caregiver, and who's the one receiving. So that's a little trickier. And if you've got moons that are, let's look at the moons, as I always say, if the moons are in signs that are compatible, where one is more the receiver, one is more of the giver, so you've got maybe a masculine moon and a feminine moon, that's perhaps a better fit for this. Or if the person's also, if for example the man's moon is in something that is receiving that Virgo from the female, or vice versa, but that act of caring and service. So perhaps if he's got an earthy moon or a water moon, might be kind of nice. Okay. Now with these two, as far as long-term just conflict in general, sort of what I just said, also this nitpicking can happen. Things can kind of cool off between Virgos. Things can go from being affectionate and tender to sort of withdrawn, because Virgos, they're a little bit critical of themselves, or they have this ability to sort of assess the world around them. So they can. That's why they are sometimes considered perfectionists. So they could apply this themselves and then project it onto their partner. So that could cause some issues with affection and sexuality down the road, perhaps. Again, that's more your sexual planets and your moons, your emotional reactions to one another. But overall, I like this couple. There's a devotion there. There is the care they would give one another. There's a commitment with Virgo. They like to do things the right way. So even if it's an open relationship, there still was this quality to Virgo where they do need a reciprocal partnership where they feel like they're important because they're taken care of and they're devoted to their partner. So let me know about your Virgo relationship in the comments below. And yeah, have a great day and good luck. Bye-bye.